Welcome back, everybody. This week on the Inkwell, we're taking a look at a pen that managed to grow on me in a very quick way. This is the Pilot Custom 845 in black Urushi with gold trim. So a few things about this beauty. The first is that this pen is third hand from Australia. The second is that unfortunately this particular 845 no longer looks like this. Shortly after the pen grew on me, I was careless with leaving it uncapped on the nightstand and came back to my dog literally eating my pen. Some things you just can't script out. The good news is that the body is still in one piece. The bad news is that I had to send the pen off to Pilot Japan to get a new nib. Back to the review though, the 845 comes in either black or vermilion with both sporting gold trim. Now there is one aesthetic difference between the black and vermilion. While the black Urushi sticks with a two-tone look, the vermilion does sport black accents on the section, end pieces, and cap band. Now on the clip, we've got the Pilot brand stamp, and the clip on this one does seem to be a little stiffer than the other Pilot clips I've tried. On the cap band, we've got Pilot Custom 845 made in Japan, and yes, the finish on this pen really is that super reflective. Now for a size comparison, we're looking at the 845 side by side with a TWSBI 580. Capped, these pens are pretty close to each other, with the 845 coming in at 1/10 of an inch longer. Both pens do come in at about 28 grams, but the 845 is slightly wider at 0.6 inches. Uncapping the pen gives us a good look at the best feature of this 845 though, and that is the two-tone 18K gold nib. This is a number 15 nib, so you're looking at something considerably larger than the nib on the TWSBI and slightly larger than the number 10 that you would find on a custom 74 or custom 92. Also, take note that we are looking at a somewhat wider section on the 845. Now, when it comes to Pilot pens that don't have either a piston or a vacuum fill system, I tend to not use the converters. While the Con 70 is definitely the lesser of three evils, I still prefer the refilled cartridge method, because you're at least going to get a decent fill from it, and you don't have to work around converters that are gonna leave you aggravated. That and the cartridges are much easier to flush than the converters, and in the time it took me to say this, I've already filled my cartridge with Diatramentus petrol, and I can get to the writing sample. I mean, try doing that with a Con 70. Speaking of writing samples, I'm using petrol on Tomoe River paper so we can get a good look at the flow from this nib. Compared to other mediums that I've tried, this one is writing a little on the drier side, but it is running normal compared strictly with Pilot mediums. The nib is pretty forgiving on the paper, and I'm a huge fan of the subtle feedback that I'm getting. Even off camera on bank paper, it had a really pleasant feel to it, and at the time of filming this, I was really impressed with the nib. I'm hoping the replacement from Pilot Japan will be just as good, if not better. I also know that it's not a main selling feature of this pen, but I do have to admit that the upside down writing experience with this two-tone nib was also extremely pleasurable. It brought the medium line down to a fine without sacrificing flow. So bringing it all back around, I think the Pilot Custom 845 is a fantastic pen. Unlike the 823, the number 15 nib here has that fitting two-tone gold nib. The Urushi provides a nice feel and a very comfortable grip, and the overall weight and balance of the pen seems really well thought out. I can also say that these pens are really tough. Your results will hopefully never be tested here, but the Urushi held up perfectly to a 50-pound dog gnawing on the nib. I also saw a tooth hit Urushi, so I knew that was tested too, but not a single scratch was found on the body. Also, I've got to say that this pen is the perfect size for someone with medium to large hands. Now, here in the US, places to procure this pen are somewhat limited at the time of filming, so if you need that immediate Pilot Urushi fix, you may have to step up to the more expensive Pilot Custom Urushi at $1,000. If you do like myself though, and go secondhand or go to the foreign market, you can find an 845 between $450 and $650 depending on your source. Either way, I think it's a good value on this pen. But that's going to be it for this video. Ink up that subscribe button, become a patron for early releases and extras, follow the channel on Twitter and Instagram, and don't forget to enable your friends. Also, don't drink the ink.